Well, good morning, everyone. Warm welcome from my side. I'm your host, Adela Mehjanic. It's Making It in Austria, 96th episode with Lidija Lalicic. It's Friday morning, but we are geared up. So we had our warm talk just a few minutes before this interview, and we're so energized about it. I am at least to start with the fact that I know a little bit about you, Lidija, but not much. So I love your name and the last name and all about it. But, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself a little bit to us.
Yeah, so my name is Lidija Lalicic. I'm originally from the Netherlands, which you would not say from the name. I have Montenegrin roots. My father is from there, but I have been born and raised in the Netherlands. I also have done my bachelor's there in tourism management, and then I did a European master in tourism management, where I traveled across Europe. So I was in Slovenia, in Spain, in Denmark, and then I did my master thesis in Wageningen University, the Netherlands. And then I was at this point in my life where I thought, okay, let's try to find a job in the Netherlands. I wanted to go back. And then I found one, but it was really not what I expected. So I thought, actually, I want to challenge myself to try to go for a PhD because I really enjoyed writing my thesis. And then I found a position in Vienna. And that's actually my story, how I ended already up in Vienna. There was a position free at Module University, Vienna. We're talking about 12 years ago, right? So 2012, yeah. And yeah, so I have done my PhD in the field of tourism, but on innovation and brand management. I have been 10 years in academia, climbing the ladder to assistant professor. And then I got my daughter in Corona 2020. And that was another very important part in my career where something inside changed me. I wanted to be more creative. I'm coming also from an entrepreneurial background. So this was the point where I also changed my career. I quit my academic position. I'm still teaching at different universities, at different degrees, master, bachelor, MBA, because I really like this part of sharing and inspiring the new generation. And on the other side, I have built my own startup, and I'm also coaching mainly female brands, building their brand and businesses. So it's much more this creative element. Yeah, and now we are here.
Now we are here. So you came just a year before us because my husband and I, we came in 2013 in September. And when you said Montenegro, I'm thinking of Elma Hot Dervic, who I have interviewed a couple of months ago, I think, a few months ago, actually. And she's in research academia, more in the technical field, technical and medicine. So she's doing now having a great traction and a lot of cool things around her. And I'm thinking of other ladies to connect you with afterwards. So how does it feel to be Dutch in Vienna?
A good question. I often ask myself that as well. Somehow I needed some time to see it as something special and nice, because there is something to the way Dutch think. I mean, I don't want to generalize, right? But everyone I talk to always refers back to, oh, that's so Dutch. And for me, it's normal, but it's somehow nice that it helps me sometimes to see things more original, to connect better to people, to be a bit more joyful about things.
And very
So
direct,
far,
I
it
would
has
say.
always been positive. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Right. So my connection, so I have a nice relationship with the Netherlands, with the Dutch people, especially because my aunt and the whole family throughout the Bosnian War, so they fled to and found a refuge in the Netherlands, in the northern part, Groningen, around that, Assen and Roden. And yeah, the whole family. So the kids grew up there. I don't know. They are mostly Dutch, so they
Yeah.
have Bosnian roots, but they are very
Yeah.
very Dutch, and they have Dutch friends, and they speak mostly Dutch among each other, and so on. And I find it funny because we speak to each other in English, so we speak a little bit in
Oh,
Bosnian, and then
nothing.
we
Yeah.
switch in English
Yeah.
for like work related topics. And yeah, and then I had a scholarship thanks to my aunt, who was creative back then. I got the scholarship from one of the Dutch company, family owned companies in the Netherlands, and then they gave me a scholarship throughout the studies I did in bachelor and master's back in Sarajevo. Yeah, quite
Nice.
quite a nice. And then my first flight ever with
Wow.
19 or 20 was to Amsterdam, from Sarajevo
Wow.
to Amsterdam. I think there was a switch in Vienna, and I was so nervous like crazy, and going to the Netherlands and so on. And then later on, I had many Dutch colleagues as well through my work. It's very direct. It's very
Mm-hmm.
direct culture, very direct culture. If you compare it to, I'm not going to compare it with the Austrian, because it's not my, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
born here. I picked up a few things, but compared to the Bosnian culture, for instance, it's very direct. So, for
Mm.
instance, all the topics are on the table.
Yeah.
It might be also my friends, because we like each other, and so the family that have sponsored me, so we are now like a family, and we see each other, we visit each other, and so on, and talk. But it's very open culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, and in Bosnian, the way we, at least my generation and the older one, grew up, it's like you just look aside, and then you know that it means that topic is closed.
Yeah.
That topic is too personal. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to open it, and so on. But it's a very, very direct. And as you said, it's good to. For me, it was a bit of shock. Well,
Mm-hmm. It
yeah.
is a shock for many. Yeah. I mean, it also depends where you are in the Netherlands. The culture is a bit different across. But for us, it's more that also I have used it to my advantage in Vienna, where I think it's the attitude we have is more to say, okay, come to the point. There doesn't have to be conflicts or fights without just being honest and direct.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is you have to find the balance in how to do that. Yeah. So it's yeah. The people, the receiver has to also learn, right? But I
Yeah.
also have to learn to be less direct, but also it's also quality. Yeah. So I don't want to put that away just because
Yeah.
the culture where I'm at and in right now cannot deal with that. You have to find nice ways
Yes.
um,
Yes.
to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lydia, you mentioned a couple of projects. I mean, I would say projects, or like businesses that you're running. So how, how did you start it? So you were in
Yeah.
academia,
Mhm.
then you got your daughter,
Mhm.
and then she's a year older than mine. So mine is 2021, April.
Mhm.
So, and then how did you decide to make this, now it's like a split in between, but I believe
Yeah.
they talk to each other. So when people ask me like, how do you all do all these things? I say they
Yeah.
talk to each other. So they
Yeah.
are not separate. So it's not like separate bubbles, but they are somehow
Yeah.
interconnected.
Which also should be, yeah, because then you can optimize it. For me, it's that I have been in my academic career. I was I was teaching courses around branding and storytelling. Also, that
Mhm.
was my PhD, entrepreneurship, business planning. So I have been doing that for a long time in the classroom. So when the moment came where I realized, okay, I actually want to be myself in that position, I knew easier how to make the switch. And also during my academic career, one of your tasks is to search for funding to find money to fund your PhD or your research project. So I was very active in that. And I built also my network with that. I was always really good in finding opportunities because I always believe that
That's
even if you
Dutch.
think it's not a
That's
fit,
Dutch,
just go for
Lydia.
it. Yeah.
From
Yeah, yeah,
from
maybe.
people
Yeah.
that I know, it's like funding, money. That's entrepreneurship. The spirit again.
Yeah, so for me that was always very important. So I had that mindset. I knew where to look. So when I made the switch to become an entrepreneur, I also knew where to look and find opportunities to get money, to get new networks. Yeah, so it's for me it was kind of my academic background helped me to make that switch. Plus, I also knew inside of me there was an entrepreneur waiting to be awake, and it was my daughter's birth that sparked that, so to say. Yeah, and I like to combine the both. Yeah, saying, okay, there is this academic in me that has a lot of knowledge, that is very structured, that knows how to do project planning. I'm using that in my businesses to run my startup and to do the coaching for brands. Yeah, so it's and it's nice if they come together because it floats back and forth in terms of benefits.
If there would be one skill that I can pick from you, that would be the one with the structure and project planning. That would be for sure, because
Yeah.
it has, I would say, improved for good since I became a mom, because you have to,
Yeah.
that you cannot procrastinate too long. It's
No.
just, and then you learn to live with the best, I call it best
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah.
It's from the
Yeah.
technical background, but then it's good enough. It's like good enough. So it's a good starting point. You have thought it through enough to
Yeah.
have an open discussion. So it's one of the skills that I would like to borrow from you. It would be like, okay, sit and write it down, because for me it's like, but how about this and how about that, and can I include that?
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
I can also be really like that. Yeah. This is
yeah,
also
I go
like,
wild. I
yeah,
so
I also
I'm
go
just
wild. I
like,
mean, there, I
please
read
sit
this
down.
book.
Can you please sit down and
Yeah.
write?
It's like all
And I
over the
see
place.
that in my daughter. I
Yeah.
see it. It's so crazy when you see things in her, and it's like
Yeah.
she's sick, but she cannot stop. She's like
No.
doing this and doing that. And then I looked in myself into the mirror, and yesterday both of us sick, but we were like reorganizing things, cleaning up the apartment. And I was like, haha, well, the apple doesn't fall back
No, far from the
far away
tree.
from.
Yeah. No, I mean, I also still struggled with that, especially because of motherhood. Like before, I knew exactly how to plan. I knew how much effort I
Yeah.
could put in, what I could reach. And then suddenly you become a mom, and then you have to rearrange your day. You have to put down your expectations. And I'm still struggling with that. Yeah, because in my mind, I can
Yeah.
quickly do that. But
But
then
then,
reality comes like, not as quickly means 20% of what I had in mind. Yeah. So that's why the structure is even more important, that I don't fall back out of focus. And I'm also still learning with that. Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah.
yeah. And you mentioned that you work with the female entrepreneurs, that I
Hmm.
understood right. So in which area? Is like the ones moving from academia, starting their business, or
No,
like
not at
in
all.
general?
It's our females who have mainly one women shows, because I see that when you're on your own, you have to wear different hats. So sometimes you just need a sparring partner who looks at your plans or plans together with you for the next year. Or when you're struggling with certain things, then they can come to me and I have a look at their business model, or we look at the brand strategy.
Mm.
Just is more to get them focused and organized. And there are some who are just starting, who before they launch. Some have been 1 year, 2 years. Yeah. So like on Wednesday, we did a small meetup with 10 female entrepreneurs, and they're all in a second, third year, struggling on their own little battles, but just this connection between them, I find really important. And also that they know, hey, there is someone I can reach out to,
Mhm.
just like a mentor, I would call it. Yeah.
And I just before our interview, I was looking at our messages we exchanged, and when the first one was the customer community was
Mhm.
the starting point.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a lovely flower flow workshop at the customer community on the 25th
Mhm.
of November. 20 women came together, and then we were
Nice.
doing this nice little crowns. And no, mine was little, but then other crowds like it was so nice.
Yeah.
It was so nice to see how the personality transforms into things that we do.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I was turned back because I took the last chair, so I was turned back to most of the women. So there were
Mhm.
three tables, and then I was doing my part, and then I was talking to Iman and Aisun and Paula, who has connected us. And then when I turned and then it was like, okay, the question started reflecting the year. So what are you proud of? And so on. And then when I turned back, I was like, wow. And then I did mine in my way. And then when I looked at the Ala Marias, it was like, and then Selma's was like this, and Nadina was like that. And I said, wow, that's how I imagine you ladies, because I
Hmm.
know some of them or most of them, and then that's the color that they love. That's the way they express their creativity, because Anna Maria is the founder of that Bags with Legs. So it was so, yeah, possible to see with the same, and it's so good to see every now and then with the same resources, because everybody had the
Yeah.
same powers on the
Yeah.
table. So you can pick up whatever you like,
Yeah.
same resources, but different.
Yeah.
More than 20 crowns, 20 different,
Yeah.
completely different crowns. And then you see,
Beautiful.
yeah, and then you see a
Yeah.
little bit of personality in it.
Yeah.
You can guess it.
Yeah. But you know what I also find important about these meetups is that we go back to creativity, because we're
Mhm.
so much on our computers
Yep.
thinking, and like, let's just work with our hands, let our brain work through our creativity. And it's
Yep.
not even about the crown, but it's just about thoughts that might come out, discussions that you have while you're doing that. And maybe the crown in the end says something about you. But I also want to do that more. Yeah, saying, okay, let's just be more creative. And it's not about the end result. It's more about the process.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And yeah, I'm on the same page with you. I said to myself, I'll organize some meetups or like get-togethers for the Making It in Austria community that are the ones that bring joy.
yeah.
Like, because of course, and nowadays there's like millions of options for the brain. You know, there's like whatever you want in the whole world. There's online course on whatever you think of. There's the panel discussion. There's whatever you think. There's in Vienna many events. And I said, I want to organize something that brings joy to, and that yeah, we go into creativity and that we do something with our hands. And just the other day we were making the cookies it's around Christmas, and our friend who helps us around the household and comes, once a week. And then we were doing that, the three of us, so Esma, Vesna, and I, and they were like, wow, that feels how my mom used to live. Because, and we said, that's what we actually miss. These ways when we come together ourselves on our own, and we just do like get-togethers that we had way before. It's the way it is. What we actually miss, that's like coming together and just being ourselves and creating something unique.
Yeah, it's very basic, but we forget that sometimes, right? To use creativity and to indeed joy. It's most important. Also, when I teach, I always have the mantra like, yeah, you have to teach. I have to teach you something, and you have to learn. But we also have to have fun in class. And it doesn't mean that we have to throw balloons in a party. But if you are doing something with joy, you connect much better to the topic, to the context, and you can grow on your own terms.
Yes, and everybody's more relaxed, when you have
exactly.
20 women that don't know each other,
but
they are very open, so that they have this like, they kind of know each other, so they have a similar. But when they come together, then the story is different, when I asked one of the ladies, I think it was Burde, and she said she did this one because it's the one that's very similar to ones from her wedding.
Wow, yeah.
And then you start, you come into talking, that you never would expect it, because if you go with the script, like, what are you doing and where are you, and how's your work, and then you dry the topic quickly, because you can talk about up to 5 minutes, and then you're like, okay, what's next? But if you go around that, and then everybody jumps in, and then you have a really nice discussion, and you get the chance to meet the people and connect on a level that where you can grow from, this personal relationship.
Interest, maybe not your profession, but there is some other elements that you value, right? So nice.
So you mentioned, I hope we do one at least. So I told you I'm pregnant with a second. So so there's something in between. So I have some time before, the due date is end of April. So I wish to do one more before, maybe, let's see, in March. But it's then again International Women's Day, so there's a lot of activity. So I need to think about that. But I would love to do at least one more, and then once the baby comes, it's like a different world. So I don't know. I tell to my friends, I get into the new portal, so I really don't. It's like a new portal, a new me. So I don't know what is going to end up there. So I'm not having plans in a sense of commitments, because it's like, let's see how it goes, and then let's take it from there.
Fair to you.
Lidija, you mentioned networking and how you were, while you were doing your PhD, you were you're conscious about your network. So tell us a little bit about that. So how was that back then? How is it these days?
Yeah, a good question. For me, it's more that I like to also search for opportunities, like, okay, what are meetups, prepare myself to go there. I mean, I also have to say that I'm quite outgoing, so I also like to connect to people. So for me, it's not so scary to, I had to train, of course, when I was very young, and I had to go to big conference where big academics were, and then it was just me. But then I always kept in the back of my mind, like, okay, what's the worst thing this can happen? If I have a very awkward 2-minute conversation, the guy, the woman I'm talking to forgets it in half an hour, like, I always try to put it into perspective. And that helped me to overcome my insecurity of getting out there. and just seeing also the joy in networking. Yeah, so being generally interested in people, trying to find outlets. And sometimes there were times where I was like, okay, this is not my crowd. It's also okay. Yeah, you can't fit in everywhere, and this has nothing to do with you. Um, Now it's different because as I in my academic track, I knew what I was, where I wanted to go, so it was easy to introduce myself and say, okay, this is what I am, this is the people I want to connect with. Now I'm a little bit different, so I'm still now it's a bit easier. But 1 year ago, I was still searching my own position and how do I present myself? What is my personal brand, so to say? Now it's clearer, so now I know who I want to connect with or which networks I'm interested in. Yeah, so it's also more trial and error.
Well, I love what you said, and that was I recently did when it was in September, I did a panel on networking with some other leaders in different industries, and I said the same thing. So if you feel it's not your crowd, don't try 3 times. You know, usually the after the first or like you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it if it's your crowd. And thankfully today, so like 10 years ago, it was a different. For me, it was a different because there was not like all these networking places or like Cosima community didn't exist a few years back.
Yeah.
So it's like you had to kind of go from one to the other. So I actually did it and I had a joy with it back then because it was a new world and I was just like going from starting firstly with the my field related, so with the field that I was working on, starting over there, meeting some people that I also have like really nice contact over the years. But if you feel like it's not your crowd, then look for another one, and then or create your own, basically.
Also
So
possible,
don't
exactly.
you have to, because it's your investment of time, energy, resources, and yourself. So you want to get best out of it. I don't want to go somewhere with the very little time nowadays we have, everyone, with the kids or without.
Yeah.
It's just you want to feel not drained, but you want to be energized. So you want to
Okay.
feel like, okay, I met, and it's not about numbers also.
No,
Like
no,
I
not at
try to
all.
tell people, it's like, oh, I need to go from one person to the
Yeah.
other one and so on. No, I don't. So you have to have something that, keeps you coming back, or like sometimes you stay for an hour with same person and then the other day you go from one to the other. So don't beat yourself up. Beat
Yeah, go with
yourself
the
up, and
flow.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. And it's like learning by doing. If
Yeah.
you have a helping hand or someone that knows a little bit some places, good places to take you with, I would accept the offer, or vice versa, take the person with you that's new to the city or new to the, to the industry or any environment. Just like take the person with you, show it a little bit around. That's also very helpful.
Yeah, actually, I think indeed good point that you say, especially when you're junior and new to the city, like be open for invitations that you get, even if you think maybe it's not my thing, just go. You never know who you meet or how you will be surprised by the situation. Yeah, so being open, I think that's really important.
Yeah, you can always leave. And as you
Yeah.
said, I like this German, so I think it's German or Austrian saying, you cannot dance to every
Mm,
wedding. So
yeah.
ich kann nicht an allen Hochzeiten tanzen.
Right.
And that's how it is. So I started broad, and then bit by bit I was, creating a place where I was feeling like, okay, these are the places where I want to be, and these are the places I want to create.
Yeah.
There were a few. What were else in your Lydia? We mentioned the academia work, you teaching. We mentioned also you working with the female entrepreneurs, but there was a third thing, right? Was
Yeah,
it
I have a third
you
thing.
do book?
Yeah.
You
It's
do a
called the
book?
Startup. Yeah, I wrote two cookbooks. One it's called The Hungry Nest, the brand. Because when when I was pregnant with her, we made once a joke because we speak English at home. We made a
Yeah,
joke, oh, Birdie, how is Birdie doing? Yeah, and her nursery was called The Nest. Yeah, so when
yeah,
I was thinking about a name for my
yeah,
company, I wanted to have an inclusive name because in this brands around parenthood is always mom and baby. And I thought, here is where the society makes the mistake. We need to include fathers more.
yeah,
So I thought if I have a brand name that is just neutral, the hungry nest, baby bird is always hungry, mom is always hungry, father needs to help to cook. And that's how the
yeah.
joke a bit came, and that's how it sticks. So I published one postpartum cookbook because that was out of my own birth experience, recovery. Also, the researcher in me piled to get a lot of information. I talked to experts in the field. And after that first book, which I actually launched in Cosima community, I had my launch party there. I realized how my daughter really enjoyed cooking, and she was always looking at the icons that I have in the big cookbook. And then I thought, okay, I have the team together. I hired a photographer and a graphic designer. We know now how the drill is. What if we would make a toddler cookbook for 3 to 5 year olds where they have their own cookbook, like be proud, open it, read with icons, like Montessori approach. And that's how the second book came. And because the graphic designer was also expecting her second baby, we had to really be fast. So within 3 months, the book was made, published, out. And I have them in 3 languages because it was important for me to have it in English, German, because that's the local market, and Dutch because it's my mother tongue. So I have been doing that now for over a year. And yeah.
Great. I know what I'm getting for Christmas or New Year's Eve to my daughter. So I'll find that book. I'll find that book.
Yeah, I can send you the link. Yeah.
Yeah, please, let's include it to the audience. I know there are many moms and dads listening and wanting to cook. We do love to cook here.
Nice.
She's more into trying it or mixing, or
Yeah, exactly. That's what the
when
book
we do the
also
pancakes,
says.
we did the pancakes this morning. So she was wanting to mix it up, and then she wanted to eat it before it was ready.
Yeah,
And
the dough.
and then when it was ready, like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's exactly like that. I just want also parents to be aware that it's not about the end product here. It's that the kids learn so much, hand-eye coordination, the confidence, the bonding. It's so much more. And yeah, it will be messy, but put it aside and think about the half an hour that you have fun in the kitchen. So
and you want to have them with you because it's part of our life. Food, cooking, eating around the table. So it's essential part of our life, of everyone's life. So we come together. So we have to be around the table together and preparing it. Oh, Lidija, that was all. I think we would have 5 more topics for sure in the next hour, but that's the all time we have today. So thank you so much for being generous with us today, this morning, showing up before Christmas, and sharing your story. I wish you all the best, with all the projects that you're doing, and I'm looking forward to meet you in person in the New Year's Eve, all fresh and full of ideas. And to the audience, thank you for watching and listening to us. I will link all the contacts from Lidija, where you can reach out to her. She's doing some great events, I believe, next year in January, was it, Lidija? Yes. So if you have links to it, so please do share. I'll also post it in the LinkedIn group that we have. And yeah, let's try to, see where we can, co-create together.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I think it's really powerful what you do, connecting and sharing. It's very important. So thank you.
Thank you, Lidija. And thank you everyone for watching. If you have not, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. There will be a couple of more episodes this year, actually, at least one more. And then it's the New Year's Eve. So I hope you get some time to rest and spend time with the family and friends. And we see fresh in the New Year's Eve. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.